Walk into any premium shopping center on a Saturday afternoon, and you'll see tens of thousands of people moving across pristine, highly polished floors. Keeping an environment of that scale spotless is difficult enough, but those flawless surfaces hide a much heavier burden for facility managers. Every wet floor, every escalator step, and every high-traffic walkway carries immense legal and financial liability. A common misconception in property management is that you can outsource this legal exposure by hiring a commercial cleaning contractor. You sign an agreement, pay a monthly fee, and the legal responsibility for slip and falls or worker injuries belongs to the vendor. The law says otherwise. In Australia, Section 19 of the Work Health and Safety Act 2011 establishes a concept known as the non-delegable duty. It dictates that the person in control of a workplace must verify the health and safety of anyone on site, even if the work is contracted out. This corporate hierarchy diagram clarifies a threat. If a subcontracted cleaner is injured, the liability alert doesn't stop at the cleaning company. It strikes straight through the primary contractor and hits center management. The center is held jointly liable, regardless of fault. Because the center cannot transfer liability with an indemnity clause, a cleaning contract serves a completely different purpose. It operates as a critical legal shield, one that must be built with enough rigor to withstand intense regulatory scrutiny. To build that shield, major operators subject potential contractors to an administrative gauntlet. The procurement process begins before a mop hits the floor, starting with a formal expression of interest, or EOI. The EOI is a brutal screening tool. Facility managers use it to evaluate financial stability, demanding audited financials showing positive EBITDA. Facility managers are actively filtering out completely inexperienced or financially unstable companies before any pricing is even discussed. Passing the EOI also requires specific, non-negotiable insurance and licensing verifications. We're talking massive minimums, $20 to $50 million in public liability cover, proof of current workers' compensation registration, and professional indemnity insurance. Shortlisted candidates are judged against a weighted scoring matrix. This chart breaks down standard evaluation weights. Notice price makes up only 30%. The rest is heavily weighted toward work health and safety, key personnel experience, innovation, and local knowledge. This weighting guarantees that a bid coming in 10% cheaper will routinely lose to a more expensive competitor if that higher-priced vendor provides superior safety credentials and experienced supervisors. The entire tendering phase acts as a massive, rigorous stress test to evaluate the strength of a contractor's corporate armor and reliability. The center must possess documented proof that the vendor has the operational systems to protect them from Section 19 liabilities. Legal exposure now encompasses the entire human supply chain. Major corporate contracts enforce a rigorous ethical hurdle, the Modern Slavery Act 2018. This network tree maps how legislation pushes legal exposure deep into the supply chain. Contractors must provide sworn declarations that labor hire, chemical, and equipment providers are free from exploitative practices. Verification reaches the individual worker level, proving subcontractors receive standard award rates. A single underpaid subcontractor working the night shift can trigger a regulatory investigation, exposing a $100 million retail property to devastating reputational damage. Once the contract is awarded and operations move to the floor, that massive legal framework translates into minute-by-minute enforcement. Subjective visual checks are replaced by rigid service level agreements, or SLAs. These include contractually binding metrics, like maintaining a strict 95% pass rate on daily visual floor audits, or a mandatory 30-minute response time for urgent spills. This timeline illustrates the formal legal process triggered when a vendor misses those targets. If a monthly audit score drops below 90%, the center issues a formal defect notice. This forces a 14-day remediation window where the contractor must submit evidence that the operational failure is fixed. Accumulating these notices triggers a severe escalation protocol. A first notice is a written warning. A second within 12 months forces a performance review. A third results in immediate contract termination for breach. To survive this environment, elite contractors rely on real-time data capture. They deploy IoT sensors to track floor moisture and use mobile app-based photographic audit trails to provide irrefutable proof of their performance. This relentless data tracking gives center management the exact documentation they need to legally prove they exercise due diligence to state regulators if an incident ever occurs. Even when a contract reaches its natural expiration, the risk management protocols dictate exactly how the vendor leaves the building. Contracts include highly structured exit and step-down clauses. During a mandatory 2 to 4 week handover period, the outgoing contractor transfers knowledge, equipment inventories, and site-specific procedures to the incoming vendor. This ensures operational continuity and prevents any gaps in the facility's legal protection during the transition. From multi-million-dollar public liability minimums to direct WHS exposure and strict labor compliance, the stakes behind these agreements are staggering. The average shopper enjoys an environment that feels effortlessly perfect, but that safety is maintained by an exhaustive back-end architecture operating quietly in the background. An elite cleaning contract functions as a sophisticated risk management partnership, one that secures the facility's survival by protecting both the people on the floor